When the pressure is high and the energy low, that's when your business needs inspiration to change and to grow. It's also when true captains show up. Hi, I'm Mark Francis, and I'm the host of this podcast that invites industry leaders from all over the world to answer the question, who's your captain? When you need to motivate and to mobilize, to develop and enable your team. Whether you are new to being a leader or you aspire to be a captain, this podcast is for you. I'm really delighted that Laura Warburton is here to join me on this podcast. Laura, good morning to you.
Hi, Mark. Good morning. And thank you so much for having me on. This is one of my first podcasts, so I am really grateful to be here. Thank you.
Well,
and hello, everyone.
Huge pleasure. I was just dialing up your book on Kindle, Becoming Your Best Self. We're going to talk about your book. It's so exciting. And we'll talk about that and transition. How do you manage transitions in your life? Because you've had a successful corporate career, senior partner in recruitment globally. And now you're transitioning more into being an independent consultant and coach. So we'll talk about transitions if that's all right with you.
Absolutely. That sounds brilliant.
So let's go back just a little bit and your corporate career. Many years working mainly in recruitment. Tell me, what are you most proud of, Laura?
I've had 20 years in recruitment. I think for me, I'm most proud of a number of elements. I started working as a graduate with Michael Page and then moved to Australia for 8 years in 2009. Moved back to the UK, and my career's really been in a number of different industries, starting in finance, then moving into life sciences, and now in wealth management. So real kind of mix of different sectors, which I've really enjoyed. And I've always worked globally. So I've had the opportunity to cover Asia Pac market and the US market, European markets, obviously the UK market. And with them, they bring this great opportunity to meet individuals in different cultures, different locations. So it's given me this wonderful vision of the world.
So great breadth of experience and global experience. What drove the decision to say, I'm going to go and live and work in Australia? It's a big move.
Yeah. So towards the end of my 20s, I said to my husband, I said, right, that's it. I want to move to Australia. And we'd met in Australia in our early 20s backpacking and had said to each other that we'd always go back. And I kind of gave him an ultimatum. I said, look, we either get married or I'm off. And I think he was a little bit shocked.
As in, you're out.
Yeah, that's it. I think he was a little bit shocked. So he quickly proposed after that. And literally within 6 months of getting married, or even before getting married, we had visas and job opportunities in Australia.
Oh, that's brilliant. And the move to Australia or anywhere, which is a major move to a different country, I think it's a brilliant part of having an experience in life, different to your upbringing. And what was it about Australia that's so special?
I love Australia, and it's really close to my heart. Me and my husband, my daughter, we all have Australian passports. I think just the size of the country and the people in Australia. You've got a huge mix of different cultures, values, and they're so warm. They're so incredibly inviting, I think, and so positive. And for me, I think after living and working in the UK for so many years, it was a little bit of a breath of fresh air. Maybe it's the sunshine. I'm not sure. But everyone's out and about. They're all running. They're really healthy. And they've got that wonderful kind of strong mental mindset that I think is really, really interesting to watch.
Yeah, my eldest son, Ben, and Kiwi, his wife, went out to Australia. Similar sort of things, that we're going to embrace a different lifestyle. And they worked on a farm in the Northern Territories, which is about as vast and remote as you can get. And they said the energy and the positivity, can-do attitude of the farm workers they were working with was amazing and uplifting. Just said, yes, we can. A yes, we can attitude. I can totally understand that. And so what was your biggest learning from Australia, your time in Australia?
I think for me, my biggest learning, so we're in Sydney for 4 years, we're in Perth for 4 years.
Which is completely the opposite side, east to west.
Absolutely, east and west territory, and really different, work took us to these different parts. I think for me, just the opportunity to meet individuals who are slightly like-minded, who think outside the box, who are from, like I said, different cultures, have different values, and move out of my, at the time, that kind of narrow-minded, if I'm honest, mindset into something so much bigger, so much more open. It really opened my eyes. And it's also when I started my yoga training as well, which is another part of my journey, but that also was really, really something that I am so grateful for, and still on that journey today.
So tell me about yoga. What does it bring for you that is nourishing?
So this is an interesting one. So I've been teaching yoga on and off for the last 12 years. I did my teacher training with a phenomenal yoga corporation called Power Living in Australia. I think they're just in Australia and New Zealand. And Power Living was created by a guy called Duncan Peake, who was in the army, and he had a parachuting accident, broke his back, and used yoga as a rehab, and then started helping others, and then bought a studio in Manly in Sydney. And I basically went along one day because I bumped into my neighbour in the corridor in Manly, and she looked so radiant. Her face, she looked phenomenal. This is in my book, and I said to her, "You look amazing. Where have you been?" She was really sweaty. So I've just been to yoga down the road, Power Living. She said, "It's amazing." And so the next day I went, and then I went literally every day for a year. And then I started doing their teacher training course. And I have to be honest, it's the best thing I ever did. It was phenomenal.
Why? What's so special about it?
So for me, yoga, because I've always had quite a big corporate role, was an opportunity to completely switch my mind off. I'd never been in a situation before where you can use exercise, and it's really intense. So it's a heated room, it's an hour-long yoga course. Duncan Peake was obviously in the army, so he's brought this kind of masculine energy to the yoga. So it's a really tough class. So by the end of an hour, you are so exhausted that all you can do is lie there in Shavasana. And it's this beautiful opportunity. If no one's tried it, they should definitely try it, where you just lie there for 2 minutes, you get into your body, you get out of your head, and it helps you gain clarity in terms of, what you really want from life and who you really are.
So you're a yoga coach, but
Yeah.
you're also a qualified coach in broader things than that. So tell me a little
Yeah.
bit about your coaching. What do you coach and how do you coach? Two big questions.
So on the yoga side, I coach through an hour-long class. I run a Monday training session with some other ladies, sort of middle-aged like myself. It's very low-key. And my friend Emily does the weights and training, and I do the yoga at the end. And we've been doing this every Monday for the last 3 years. And the growth of those women, not just through me, through their own kind of things that they've done. One of my friends, Kate, she's doing part of the Tour de France route. She's a brand new cyclist. She's absolutely phenomenal. She's raised £10,000 for children's cancer. Another one of my friends runs this dance school, and it's just a collective of women who are doing amazing things. And I'd like to think that that tiny bit of yoga has really helped them get clear on where they want to go and what they want to do.
So talk to me about you as a consultant, because one of the transitions you're talking about to yourself and deciding is, I'll run my own businesses rather than necessarily work in the corporate world. What's behind that thinking?
So my book is almost like a launch. So my book is an opportunity to bring everything together, and it's a toolkit. It's a guide to if you're stuck where you are today, how to get to where you want to be tomorrow, using all the knowledge that I've sort of come together in my life and through different experiences. And what I want to do next is start coaching individuals around their mindset, because what I've realized throughout my sort of 20 years in corporate, through yoga training, through all the different experiences that I've had, is that your mindset is your key. It's the most important thing to help you to get to where you want to be. And there's nothing standing in your way. And my dad always told me when I was a kid, Laura, the only person that can stop you doing all the things you want to do is you. And I've kind of lived that, really. I think it's absolutely true. And then the flip side of that, in 2022, I was really unwell. I nearly died. My mum passed away earlier this year. My father-in-law passed away a couple of months ago. And I think it's that realization that none of us are going to be here forever. We're not going to, none of us are getting out of here alive. So if not now, when? And so at the beginning of this year, I said to myself, I'm going to write a book. I've done it. It's with the printers and it's going to be out really soon. And I also am then going to use that as my sort of launch pad for coaching. And what I hope to do is just help, even if it's just one person, realize all the amazing things that they can do. And perhaps they're the person who's holding themselves back.
Now, it sounds very enticing. What are the key elements of the toolkit? Because this is a toolkit to be the best version of yourself. What are some of the elements that we can expect from reading the book?
Absolutely. So there are a few worksheets in there, actually. So unfortunately, it's a book that comes with a bit of work, which I think it's great. It's really simple. Don't get me wrong. It's not the biggest book. It's not the hardest book to read, but I think it allows the individual an opportunity just to take a step back. So my toolkit is very much about goal setting. So getting clear in terms of what you want, because if you don't know what you want, then how do you get it? And then number two, how to get it, sort of coming up with a concise plan as to what you need to do in order to make those goals come into life. And it might not happen tomorrow, but it's small daily habits. And that's something else I talk about. So, for example, recently I've lost 7.5 kilos with a group that I'm part of. And obviously I want to put in practice what I'm talking about. And there's a couple of things. So behind me, you might not see this, I've got a vision board. I get clear in terms of, okay, this year I'm going to write a book, I'm going to lose 7.5 kilos. And it's about ticking them off. And how do you tick them off? And it's small daily habits. That's all it is. The only difference between me and anybody else is those tiny, small daily habits. And so for me, some of those daily habits are getting up at 5 a.m. I'm not saying anyone has to do that, going swimming every day, keeping healthy, having an awareness of what I'm putting in my body, but mostly your mindset. Because what often happens, I think, for a lot of us, we start going to the gym and it's been a couple of months and nothing has happened. And I write this in my book, it's a little bit like popcorn, when you put popcorn in the microwave and you stop it at 2 minutes, nothing's popped, the corn's not there yet. But if you leave it for the whole 5 minutes, you'll have beautiful popcorn. And I think it's the same with us. If you keep going, if you don't stop, even when you get to that point where you get a little bit despair coming through, you just keep going. Success is just on the other side of that.
Yeah, you talk about vision board. I've got a really good friend who's in Minneapolis now. She's Australian, Natalie Chung. Shout out to Natalie. Natalie uses vision board and she updates it, creates it every year at the start of every year and says, this is what I want to manifest in my life this year, including her moving to America, which is an amazing thing. Tell me a little bit more. How do you create a vision board? Because I think it's a really important thing.
Absolutely. There's several ways of creating a vision board. You can cut things out of a magazine. Just keep it really simple. Just put a board in your office, anywhere that you're going to see it every day next to your desk. It can be very simple. Alternatively, you can create one on your phone. You can use Canva. You can use Pinterest. You can just pin things to it. But my advice before you do any of that is just be really clear on what you want. So setting those 3, 4, 5 goals and then building pictures around that. I'm a really visual person, so I need pictures. Not everybody is. But I do think if you know where you want to go and you know what that looks like and you put those lovely pictures, so whether it's a nice big house or whether it's a gorgeous new body or whether it's a puppy or whether it's a baby or whether it's a new job, you can get really creative. If you want to be the new VP of your firm, maybe create a new business title and stick it up. Or if you want to, I don't know, save 10 grand, then maybe put a blank check with 10 grand written, not a real check, and stick it to your wall. Whatever it might be, I do think those visualizations really help.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a personal story. When I was 28, which was many decades ago, I was in a job where I thought I was worth more than I was getting paid. I was paid 30,000, which was a decent salary at the time,
Yeah.
way back in the 1800s sometime. And I thought, you know what, I think I'm worth 45,000. And I wrote down, exactly to your point, I wrote down on a chart by my bed, I earn £45,000. And 2 days later, I got a phone call from a headhunter, someone like your good self, saying, we hear you're good and we've got a client that might be interested. I said, I'm going to stop you there. Unless it's £45,000 as a minimum, we're not going to have a conversation. And he said, oh, it's a bit lower than that. Let me see what I can do with a client. And in the end, they offered me 50,000. No
Amazing.
chance I would have asked for 45 had I not written it down. No chance. I would have thought 35 would be amazing if you're on 30. So this is the point about manifesting, visualizing positive change. And actually, Natalie uses cutouts from magazines, lots of images.
Yeah.
Even if people are not naturally more visual, as a human being, the picture creates an energy towards. It does.
That's
If
it.
you see something first, then you start to convince yourself you can do it. Manifesting, classic.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. And I've seen it time and time again. I've used it so many times. And I can give you a couple examples. So when we were saving to do our extension on our house, both myself and my husband, I think it was during lockdown actually, we were working side by side because we needed to extend our house. And I got one of those almost like a funnel, and it had the amount of savings on it. So like 5 grand, 10 grand, all the way up to 50 grand. I stuck one on my husband's side of his wall and one on mine. And I said, right, I don't know how, but we're both going to save 50 grand. I mean, it took us a while, but we both did it. We saved exactly 100 grand. I don't know how. And we extended our house. So I do think the power of visualization is perhaps something we don't do enough.
I do a lot of work in sport, and one of the things I introduce to professional football teams at the moment is see yourself successful, right? Which is visualize what you hope to achieve rather than just intellectualize it. So I'm with you. Now, tell me more about the toolkit. What's in the toolkit we can get from your wonderful book?
Absolutely. So the toolkit is that it's literally a handful of ideas that allow the individual to take a step back and think, okay, what are my goals? How am I going to build pictures around my goals? What's holding me back? So there is a worksheet in there about, what are you proud of? What's holding you back? What are you looking to do in the next 12 months? And what will you do if you don't do those things in the next 12 months? So obviously setting goals, most people do it at the beginning of the year in January. Unfortunately, around 85% by the end of February have already stopped. And the reason for that, and this is also in my book, Why Do We Quit? And I think that's a really, really important topic. And the reason for that, and I go into this in my book, is that a lot of people, if they don't see the results straight away, and we live in such a fast world now that you can order food and it's at your door in 20 minutes, that the art of patience has just gone. And that's really what it is. The other thing that I talk about in my book is success leaves clues. So look around you, have a look at successful people. What do they do that perhaps you're not doing? Reading, there's a huge number of books that I've encouraged the reader to pick up and read. One of them is called Winning in the Dark by Joshua Medcalf, which is a phenomenal book. I don't know if you've read it, Mark.
I have. It's brilliant.
It's a really good book, and it's about sports individuals who, we don't see the work they do. They get up at 3, 4 a.m. I'm sure you've seen this, and they are successful because of that work that they put in the dark that nobody sees. And everyone just thinks, oh, well, they're driving around in a Lamborghini. They probably got given that. But no, most of the time, successful people put the work in. And I also talk about a morning routine, which I think can be really beneficial. So allowing yourself that little bit of space in the morning to become the person that you want to be, even if it's half an hour, it can make such a difference. I talk about meditation. I talk about moving the body. I talk about yoga. I talk about all these tools that I've learned in my life that I think can really add so much value. And then I also talk about, 2022 when I was really unwell and my story within that and what that's also taught me.
So one thing that was triggered is this point about winning in the dark. And Daley Thompson, who I've had the great pleasure of working a little bit with, because he helped us when I was working with the women's rugby team. Amazing human being, double Olympic gold medalist, of course, Daley
Yeah.
Thompson, and
Yeah.
a wonderfully humble man. And he said, my favorite day of training was always Christmas Day, because I knew my competition wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And I used to,
Amazing.
that's winning in the dark, right? And
That's
it's a
it. That's absolutely it.
fabled story. Tell me more about the impact of the illness, not necessarily the illness that you had that nearly killed you, Laura, but what was the impact when you survived on
Yeah.
your mortality and your ambition?
I think for me personally, and this might sound very strange to your listeners, but I am so grateful for the experience because it's a wake-up call. It allowed me to understand that I was just pushing myself in the corporate world a little bit too hard, and that, sometimes, and that's why I want to do the coaching side, is to help people avoid burnout, because I think if I'm honest with myself, I was completely burnt out. And I think what it taught me is that your family, my husband, my daughter, you know, nothing can replace them. They are the most important thing for me. My sister's the most important thing. My family, if I'm honest, is like the heart of my everything, and my friends. And the individuals that showed up for me during that time, I now bend over, like they are on the highest pedestal for me. And the individual who didn't show up, it just taught me something. And I am so grateful for that lesson. I think without that lesson, I probably wouldn't be, in a way, pushing myself to be more, looking at other ways that I can help people and add value to this world. And also a bit of a realization that, time is really precious. Life is really precious, and we don't have that long.
It's a reflection that I'm having myself because 63, I had a major operation 2 years ago. And as you said, it's a signal.
Yeah.
How are you using your time on this earth? I mean, it's an
Yeah.
amazingly big question. And then actually, if you want to optimize, sometimes you need help. And that could be a sounding board coach like you or I.
Yeah.
Could be an amazing book that just shows you the way.
Yeah.
Or it could be a really good friend that just gives you a little piece of
That's
advice
it.
that is strong enough for you to go, I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to listen to that advice. Tell me about the journey of becoming an author, because having done that myself with the captaincy a year or so ago, and you've very gratefully, thankfully, you've read my book. That's very kind of you. What's, what's that journey like? Because I think for me, that was a fascinating journey about imposter syndrome of, can I even write a book of any
Mm.
value at all? Tell me about your journey.
I think, if I'm honest, actually, Mark, your book inspired me. There's been a book inside me for years, and it's one of those things in life that you need to take a bit of time to set aside because it doesn't happen overnight. It's a labor of love that I've had to fit around work, family, life. I say this, I lost my role at the beginning, my old job at the beginning of the year. And they gave me some, they couldn't financially afford to keep me on, not a problem. They were a small sort of startup. And they gave me a little bit of money, and it allowed me 3 months to get my head down and just really focus on it. And that time I used as wisely as I could. So if I'm completely transparent, I probably needed that amount of time just to slow down, recap, and start writing. And I remember saying to my family, I mean, they think I'm bonkers already, but I remember saying sort of at Christmas time, I'm going to write a book. And they were like, okay, Laura, that's great. And then my mom passed away in the middle of with the 12th of December, and we had a funeral beginning of.
Sorry to hear that.
That's okay. And we had a funeral at the beginning of January, and I flew over to Spain because mom and dad have got a villa in Spain and a house in the UK to clear out her things. And it was just me and my dad for a week, just going through all her stuff and clearing it all out. And it was beautiful. My mom had been struggling with cancer for 2 years. So the end came as a little bit of a relief. And I got up every morning at 6 a.m. with my dad because he gets up really early, and I was typing, and I don't know what he does. He was pretending to type, I think, and just worked on my book and just kept going. And it's finally all together.
What did writing a book give you? Because obviously it's a toolkit that brings value to others now, because it's sharing your experience. But
Yeah.
what did the journey of writing a book give you?
Really good question, Mark. Thank you. Yeah, I think the journey taught me a couple of things. Number one, to get clear in myself. So it's the toolkits helped me. And I've lived and worked and breathed through it. So this year I've set my goals. I've written a book. I've lost 7.5 kilos. All the things I wanted to do at the beginning of the year, I've done. And I do feel like the book has kind of pulled everything together for me, allowed me to really look at my life and where I am and where I want to be on the other side of that, and given me a focus, a passion project, if you like, that I can now give to others in a beautifully wrapped, little book that they can pick up if they want to and read or listen to, or read on the Kindle. So it's been a really, really beautiful process for and actually I've done it quite quickly. I think 6 months I've done it, and from start to finish, which I think is quite quick.
It's very quick. I mean, it took me 18 months, and I mean, it's a slightly different process, because I'm going to talk to you about, or I'll get you to share what it's like self-publishing, because mine took longer because I was using expertise from a publisher
Yeah.
that made it better. There's no question the book is better because of my publisher. There's no question about that. But it does take a little bit longer because it's more precision and more reflection, all sorts of things. Tell me about self-publishing. What was the journey of self-publishing like?
Yeah, self-publishing is tricky. I'm obviously trying to do everything on a budget. And for anyone else who's thinking about it, just go for it. I am really lucky. I've got a friend of mine, Vanessa. She is an editor. She used to work for quite a large newspaper. So she was my first point of call and pulled it all apart, which was really interesting. So I had to then sort of pull it all back together again. She gave me some phenomenal ideas. And I'm using a little bit, I'm using kind of an outsourced team that do a little bit for me, but I have edited it so many times. So if there's one mistake in there, my apologies, everyone, but I have really, really tried.
Well, here's the truth of it, that even when you've been thorough, you've used an external resource or several, you've used mates to read through it, when you finally produce it, on average, a book that is published and available to buy still has 10 errors. On average, 10
That
missing
makes me feel
commas,
better.
10. And a good friend of mine, Amanda Downs, launched her book last month. And she said, I'm so frustrated because I'm passing it out and selling it, and then I'm glimpsing things and going, oh my goodness, that's wrong. There's a comma missing here. And it's inevitable. So perfect, not needed, just not terrible. 100 mistakes, people stop reading it, but 10, most people don't even notice.
That's it. And I do say perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. Done is better than perfect. And I've really tried. So hopefully it's 10 and slightly less.
What was the hardest thing writing the book and getting to the point where it's now at the printers, just about to be available? What was the hardest thing on that journey for you, Laura?
I think self-belief. And that's another tool in my book, because I think a lot of us struggle with imposter syndrome. I think for me, it is quite vulnerable. I'm putting myself out there. It's my story. So whoever knows me is going to find out more about me and my thought process. And I think a few times I thought, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself out there like this? But given all the experiences I've had in my life, and given, what happened to me in 2022, I've become quite resilient in terms of what people think of me. And my thought process now is, not everyone's going to love it. Not everyone's going to hate it. But if I help one person, then that's really what I should be doing.
And what was the best part of writing your book?
The best part is I feel a real sense of achievement, because I said I was going to do something and I've done it. And I do think happiness comes from setting goals and reaching those goals. There's a real sense inside myself of, I said I was going to do this and I've made it happen. And it's not very easy, because life will throw things at you. I've got a daughter, she's 12, Ella, I've got a husband, I've got a full-time job. It's tricky trying to find space to do these things, but I also wanted to prove to myself that I could, and I did.
Yeah. And I think the important point about goals, because I think some people resist putting things down in writing and vision boards, and it almost puts a pressure on some people. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
has its dangers. I think one key point to make is make the goals achievable. Now, write a
absolutely.
book is actually achievable because it's not about quality initially. It's just write one.
Yeah,
Well, as human beings, particularly if we've got any kind of self-drive, you want to write a good one that people want to read. But actually, the goal is write a book, because we've
yeah.
all got a book in us. Choose something you're passionate about and write about it. So that works, right? And I think small achievable goals is the journey to achieving the big goals. So the classic question now, Laura, what's the next goal regarding your book? So just at the point at which it's going to be out there, what are your expectations and goals for the book now?
Yeah, so my expectations, I'm hoping someone buys them. My friends told me that they would. I'm going to be launching a book launch at my friend's pub in the next couple of weeks, and I'm hoping to get yourself there, Mark, and a couple of my other friends. And we'll have a little bit of an interview sort of basis around health, nutrition, my book, your book. So I've already spoken to a number of my friends. They're going to come along, and I'm hoping to give away a few books initially, so they can write some lovely comments on Amazon, and then obviously, hopefully to make a few sales. But I haven't done this for the monetary side at all. I just hope I bring some clarity to a couple of people that, really might benefit from it, and see where they take it and what happens in their life. And, if it helps somebody to achieve something that perhaps they're holding back on, then I'd be so happy to hear from them.
And what's next? So what I mean by that is you've got a lot on your plate in terms of the book, because it's get it out there, launch it, talk about it, hopefully sell a few, which would be nice as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
What's next for the book once it's out there? Because mine, in that sense, is out there now.
yeah.
And so you start to think, okay, what's next? Is it another book? Is it promote this book more? What's next for you in the book?
So next, I'm going to take my book and help coach people. So the other sideline of my business that I want to set up is mindset coaching. And I feel like I'm in a good place at the moment with my corporate world understanding, with my yoga, with kind of where I'm at right now, to add value to somebody who's on a journey where they are stuck. I've been coaching 2 individuals so far, and one of them, Paul, I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning him. He lives in Spain. He's someone I've known for many, many years. And he hurt his back. So his initial career was working as a carpenter. He hurt his back, and he had to pivot, like all of us do in life. He's in his 40s. And he was working on a book, a biblical book. He's a Christian. He was talking about Revelations, and he's just finished his book, and he's about to publish his book. And he wouldn't have done that without my support, my bothering him every week, my talking to him about his goals and where he wanted to be. And the change in him from going to somebody who was quite he was quite in despair, I think, because he wasn't sure what he was going to do, to now someone who's really enlightened, full of energy, passion, really wants to take this somewhere, is such an honor to see.
And so it's kind of building on that question is, how will you measure success? Because you said earlier, it's not about how much you sell. So what is the measure of success for the book?
I think success for this book is, for me, is if I'll move it into my coaching business. So it'll be used as a tool, as part of the coaching. It'll be free. It'll be all part of the package. But if someone can just take the book and use it as an opportunity to take a step back, and I say that a lot, I know, but it really is about stopping your mind for a moment, because our brains nowadays are so full of, tech and work and families. It's so full. But if you can take a step back and take a bit of realization around who you are, what's your identity, where do you want to be, where do you want to go, what does that look like, and how the hell are you going to get there? I'm hoping this book helps that person. And if not, I'm available to coach and get you there.
It's connected. I love that. And how should we read the book? Because as a toolkit, it feels like I could dip in and dip out. Is that how you would recommend reading the book? What's your advice?
Absolutely. It is a toolkit. And there's, like I said, there's worksheets in there. So I think for a lot of people, reading is something, we get so busy. I myself listen to so many podcasts, and I will try and put it on audio as well. But a lot of us don't have time to read a whole book. I wish we all did. So this is a book, it's 20,000 words. It's not long. That I've created it so you can dip in, dip out. You can write in it. You can use it to draw pictures. It's a book that I wanted someone to take with them as almost like a journal as well. It's really interactive. It's an opportunity for that person to work with the book and the book to work with them.
And tell me a little bit about audio, because you said you're going to make an audio book, which is frankly what I did with my book. An amazing experience with Elliot Frisbee. Is the most amazing audiobook creator I've ever met. He's a brilliant human being. Elliot Frisbee, if you need support with that. But why audiobook for you?
I think I listen to loads of podcasts all the time. When I'm food shopping, when I'm out walking, when I'm running, I always listen to podcasts as a way of upskilling myself, because reading a book takes time, it takes effort. I know that. I still love reading, and I try and read a book at least once a month, but it's not always possible. So my thought process is, if I can put it on, and if I can put it into a situation that makes people's lives easier, then I will do that.
Top tip is add bits. One of the beauties of doing audiobook is you've got your book in front of you, you're reading from it into a recorder effectively, but you can add bits. So you can say, and the template here is on page 9, please use it to develop your next goal, whatever that is. And you can say, let me give an example. So you add bits that are not in the book itself. And that was a joyous part of recording the audiobook for me, because you enrich. It's your voice as well, which adds loads of value, because a lot of the people that initially buy the book will already know you. So to listen to your voice adds value. There's no question about that. One of my friends who read it said it was like being with you. And that is pretty cool, isn't it? If you get that energy and natural communication style across, that's amazing. Now, beyond the book, because you've got a lot of ideas about what you want to do next, and in addition to what you're currently doing. Nothing to do with the book. What's next for you?
That's a really good question. So I've kind of ticked that big chapter off. I think now what I want to focus on is helping people. So I really want to drive more of my business towards that coaching, get some more clients on, work with them, and take them on that journey. And I'm so excited to be able to do that. And then, there's life. I've got my daughter, I've got my husband, I've got my home and my full-time role as well. So it is all keeping me pretty busy. I have thoughts about doing half a marathon. So that's in the back of my mind, but I'm not going to make any promises on that, because at the moment I'm terrible at running.
It's one step at a time, that one. It's just go slightly further. It's classic stuff. And so how can people get hold of you, Laura, in terms of they want to be coached by you, whether that's yoga or life management or whatever it is? How can people get hold of you?
Absolutely. So I'm on Instagram, Coach by Laura. Really simple. You can find me on there. And actually, if you follow my bio, it takes you to a link and you can book a free one-on-one coaching call. I'm also on LinkedIn, Laura Warburton. And I am on TikTok, although I find TikTok a little bit of a crazy minefield. But again, Coach by Laura. So I'm on a couple of platforms, and there is a little, there's some information about me as well in my book.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And if there was one final tip, and it's almost asking the impossible question, biggest piece of advice from your book that you'd like to reinforce now, what's your final big tip for everybody to become their best self?
Absolutely. I've got a quote, and I think it's so powerful. So, your dreams will quietly whisper, but your fears will scream no. And I think it's so powerful. So basically, if you listen to your heart, it will take you to where you want to go. And your brain will always try and keep you safe and stop you. And that's in my book, trying to teach yourself how to move that goalpost is so incredibly difficult. But again, your dreams will quietly whisper and your fears will scream, hell no. And it's a really tricky one, but you can do it.
Yeah, I buy that totally. Thank you. Laura Warburton, thank you so much for being on this podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. It's been an absolute joy. I'm really honoured. Thank you very much.